Good evening and welcome to Tennessee Volunteers live on the Voice of College Football Network. Tucker Harlan and Jordan Binkley with you tonight on this wonderful Monday evening. Appreciate all of you guys for joining us tonight on the stream. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at the Voice of College Football. Really helps us out, really helps you get closer to the great content that you enjoy in the world of Tennessee football and college football in general. And I want to congratulate all of you guys because you have made it officially to college football seasons. Very exciting stuff. Just got through week 0 this past weekend. Really fun slate of games in some instances. A couple pretty interesting FCS games over the weekend. Got to watch, obviously, the game out there in Dublin with Iowa State and Kansas State. That one was fun, a little messy. And then, of course, you had that crazy game in Hawaii with a quarterback who was playing on one leg and a kicker that is from Japan that learned to kick on YouTube. So that is week 0 in college football for you. Jordan, did you get to watch any of these week 0 college football games?
No, unfortunately, I've not because I'm still trying to find out how to go about like watching the games this year. Because I don't have a cable television, everything like that. Like, of course, I'm gonna watch every Tennessee game this season, whether I not I have to go to like Buffalo Wild Wings or like go to my mom's house or something like that. But I'm trying to find out like the most cost effective way to watch these games. Like, would you recommend like ESPN Plus or something like that?
Ooh, we may need to have a discussion about that sometime during the show because today there was some unfortunate news regarding a contract dispute between YouTube TV and Fox. It's like all these major networks love to have conflicts with one another. And yeah, it's at this point it may be better switching back to cable. I have if push comes to shove, that's what I'd do in the end, but we shall see if that indeed happens here in the future, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of really good games on Fox this week. But yeah, it's not fun to have to forge through all that stuff, unfortunately. But we're looking forward to it because it's beginning to feel like fall outside, believe it or not. It
Yeah.
was, I don't know if you were outside today or anybody watching this was outside today. It was a nice, let's say 75 to 80 degrees for most of the day. Actually, kind of breezy outside too, which was something that I was pretty surprised by. So it's as if Mother Nature is greeting us already and helping us get into the season. So week 1 right around the corner. We're going to talk all about it tonight with Tennessee and Syracuse. I'm really excited for week 1, man. I think 6 of the 16 SEC teams are playing um, the Power 4 opponents in week 1, and then also you've got this. You got a couple other games in week 1 too that are of interest. Of course, you got Chapel Bill versus TCU on Monday night. You got Nebraska and Cincinnati on Thursday. I believe Georgia Tech and Colorado play on Friday, and then you've also got Miami and Notre Dame playing on Sunday. So you got some good action outside of the league too, and even some of the worst teams in the league, like they play some games that could be very losable. I'm talking specifically about Kentucky playing Toledo and Mississippi State playing Southern Miss. Those are some very losable games for those two teams. So that's going to be fun to watch over the course of the weekend. I'm just so glad it's back, man. It's so hard for us who talk about college football year round to try and manufacture content for like 7 months of the year. But now that we're finally here, our job is so much easier, and I'm really looking forward to it. Just having football on all but one day for most of the days this last part of the season. And of course, once we get into November, we'll have action. So you'll see football every day, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like the hard part of our job is definitely over now. Like I know we were having to get creative at some points, like talking about former Vols players, like having our own little top fives and everything. But now we're what 6 days away from Tennessee playing their first game of the season. We got college football already on the way. Man, it can't get more exciting than this. I mean, especially because like I mean, I haven't like caught up with a lot of sports outside of college football in the past couple of years. So I've been desperately waiting for this. It's gonna be a good matchup this Saturday. And the more I've looked into the stats and everything, and I feel the same way like pretty much every season when it comes around. Like, I might be a little bit more skeptical of Tennessee during like the summer and everything like that. But once the season comes around, like a switch flips in my head, and sometimes I get a little bit more overly confident than I feel like I should. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Like, especially seeing how Syracuse fared last year, seeing some of their statistics. I kind of see now why, the betting odds were, like about like 2 scores for Tennessee. I can start to see that now after seeing how they fare against each other, because I mean, Syracuse has lost a lot of talent in the offseason.
Yeah.
I mean, not only did they lose their single season passing yards and touchdown record holder in Kyle McCord, they also lost their 3 leading receivers and their leading rusher, their leading rusher, LaQuint Allen. He had like over 1,000 yards rushing, and I think, how many touchdowns did it say right here? He had 16 touchdowns. Yeah, so he's gone. Like, they're losing a lot of production right there. So I feel like there's a little bit of similarities here with Tennessee and Syracuse, besides the fact that Tennessee has a much better defense.
Yeah. And we're going to discuss all about the matchup tonight. But first, I do have one very, very exciting announcement for all of you guys who are watching us on Tennessee at the Voice of College Football on YouTube or on X. We are going to shut down the X feed after a little while. I'll explain why privately if you would like to know. But we had a company meeting the other week. I guess it was Thursday, so maybe not the other week, just a few days ago. And, usually company meetings are just like, make sure everybody's on the same page. And it's a lot of stuff that you already know. What I'm about to tell you guys is something we did not know. And we are very, very excited to bring it to you all. So, if you like what you see on the Voice of College Football Network, for many of our channels for that matter, not just Tennessee, we have merch. And let me show you how to find that merch. Type in VOCFB shop, the fourth wall. This is your link right here. It'll officially pop up if you Google the channel, it'll pop up, or the channel website. It'll pop up with just a generic home screen, and it'll say shop on there. So you can click on the shop and you can scroll through the teams as you see on here. We got, I think this is Alabama up. Scroll down. Here's Tennessee. You've got trucker hats, camo trucker hats. You've got a dad hat that they're calling it. You got a t-shirt, a couple t-shirts. This one, may need to get with the graphic design team on this one, because I think that may be a little bit of Florida orange. We don't do that here. But you have like 5 different kinds of t-shirts that you can wear. Of course, you've got this sweatshirt over here. You got a polo, 2 different kinds of polos that we've got on sale. And then you got some other stuff for your drinks. If you want coffee, if you're a big coffee drinker like I am, there are 2 different kinds of mugs that we have on sale. We've got this one with the black interior, but we've also got one with an orange interior. We've got this orange Tennessee Voice of College Football tumbler, and we've got this koozie. So if you need something to keep your beer cool, you can stick it in there. We have all that available on sale at the Voice of College Football website, vocfb.com. Scroll over to shop on the website and then scroll down to Tennessee. You can find all this stuff. If you like what you see, it would help us out a lot if you bought it. And again, it's really cool. I'm about to buy some myself. I feel obligated to buy some, but man, I would love to be able to grow this as well. It's just a great way to expand what we're doing here at the Voice of College Football. It was something we didn't know we'd be able to do going into the year, but thankfully, and I would be remiss if I didn't shout out Josh Mahler of our Oklahoma channel for putting this together rather quickly, I should say, too. So doing a very good job over there with several different matters over there with the Voice of College Football Network. Josh is.
Yeah, I'm ecstatic. I mean, like, I wasn't expecting this, but here we are now. We got all this cool gear for the season, everything. I definitely want to get me a tumbler. I definitely want to get me a couple t-shirts and that sweater, and I'm excited to rock all of that this fall, especially when it gets colder outside. That sweater is going to be perfect for that. I mean, fall's right around the corner.
Yeah, you might even put one on tonight, honestly,
Oh
with how
yeah.
cold it is. I might go sit outside for a while and enjoy the upper 60s, upper 50s, I should say, lower 60-degree weather. It might be fun.
Yeah,
Might be fun to sit out there on the porch.
earlier today before we got on the podcast, me and my girlfriend, we took our two dogs and went on a little hike today because it just felt so nice. It's like, why not? And they played in the water a little bit. I mean, it feels freaking great outside.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully it can stay that way for a while. I know it's supposed to the rest of the week, but uh, Mother Nature is letting us know that football is right around the corner, which is why all of you guys are here tonight. You're here to watch us discuss all about this Tennessee and Syracuse matchup. Maybe I shouldn't say all of it. We do have a special preview rolling out later in the week. Jordan, unfortunately, will not be with me, but uh, Jackson Holzer of Locked on Q's is joining us. Actually, it's Locked on Syracuse. I want to say Locked on Q's because that's what everybody calls Syracuse, but you get what I mean. We have a special preview rolling out later. But on to the matchup for this weekend, Syracuse versus Tennessee in Atlanta. Obviously, not a ton of history between these two teams, just 3 total matchups. And I pulled something up earlier today. It's very random. These teams, in all 4 of their meetings after this weekend, will have never met in the same place. They played in the 1966 Gator Bowl, which, of course, is in Jacksonville. Of course, everybody knows about the 1998 matchup in Syracuse. And then the 2001 game was in Neyland Stadium. This game will, of course, be in Atlanta. So that's a little strange stat there for you. Not having played any games in the same place, not very many programs can say that about their series against another program. Earlier today, it was announced that you have Bob Wischusen and Louis Riddick on the call. They were on the call when Tennessee beat Florida in Neyland last year, so maybe some good luck involved there. Jordan, let me ask you your confidence level, 1 to 100. What are you giving it right now?
Well, right now, like I said, that switch is flipped on me. So my confidence level's up to 100 for this game for sure. I mean, I think Tennessee gets the job done, especially because what I was mentioning earlier, man. I mean, like Syracuse is losing essentially their entire production on offense. And I know Tennessee has lost a lot too. Like, don't get me wrong. But, Tennessee gets better recruits more often than not than Syracuse. And like, there's some talented players on the roster. Even if Joey Aguilar plays pitiful during the game, there's 2 good quarterbacks that could step up and play well. I'm excited for this game for many reasons. One of the things I'm most excited about is just to see how this wide receiver group gels for Tennessee and see if like maybe Mike Matthews has a breakout game. Like, who knows? And like, I'm excited to see what the depth chart looks like too. But I mean, I think Tennessee has potential to possibly score a lot of points in this game. I mean, if everything goes the way that they hope it will. And like I said, I think the biggest difference maker in this game for Tennessee is the fact that their defense is going to be much better than Syracuse. And considering that they've lost so much talent on offense, I don't see them having an easy time scoring on Tennessee.
All right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit lower than you on just in terms of levels of confidence. I'm going to go with an 85 here, and just only because there's a lot that we don't know. We just don't know what exactly we're going to see with this Tennessee team offensively. Defensively, we know what we're getting into. It's just a matter of whether or not, because it's the same thing with Syracuse, somewhat of a benefit of the doubt, fear of the unknown type thing. You just don't know what they've got going on the other side. I don't think Steve Angeli is going to be better necessarily than Kyle McCord, but that's just where I am with it right now. And also, it's a neutral game too, so you're not really going to have a home environment. It'll feel more like a home environment than I think most neutral games would. But I just don't know a ton with this Syracuse team just yet. Just because we haven't seen them. It's hard to talk about teams in the transfer portal era of college football before the season when they have so many new pieces, and we're just not entirely sure what to expect. Posty says that the depth charts are of no use anymore in this era of college football. I kind of agree with that, honestly, just because you've got all these all these coaches who will go to great lengths to not tell you anything about what's going on the next week. Josh Heupel is certainly one of those coaches, as we've seen with that, and then also availability reports. He won't mention anything in press conferences. He'll just wait until that report comes out. Which, by the way, put out a post earlier on X about this, and you guys probably already know that there will not be an availability report this week, just because those are only mandatory for SEC games, and he will not he will not budge to just not tell you anything. We know that Josh Heupel is going to play his cards close to his chest, obviously. So no availability report just yet this week, or for the next few weeks, I should say. But we'll see if anybody is actually injured. I've not heard anything other than David Hobbs just for the first couple weeks of the season. But I don't anticipate any other major injuries to start this part of the season. He did have a press conference today, Josh Heupel did, by the way. And one of which items he mentioned was the depth chart. The other one involved Boo Carter. And he anticipated that Boo Carter would play. That's classic Josh Heupel terminology right there. Just not going to tell you anything. I anticipate that he'll play. That could mean he won't play. Possibly. It could be a situation where he doesn't play like the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks because they don't think he's ready just yet. So I don't know what that's all about. But I think that is just up for us to interpret at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out this Saturday how everything goes with Boo Carter's situation, but I would imagine that we see him out there on the field Saturday. But like I said, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But you brought up Steve Angeli at one point. I will say, like, to give him credit, I think he has only played like 2 seasons at Notre Dame or whatever, and mainly had a backup role, but he's been pretty efficient when it comes to like not turning over the football. He's only had 1 interception, and he's had 10 touchdowns for the season. So, I mean, I don't know how great he'll be as a full-time starter for Syracuse. Like I saw a little bit on Twitter that he struggled a little bit during fall camp. I can't remember exactly what the numbers were, not a lot, but I mean, he definitely threw more than 1 interception in fall camp. And I heard whoever the other quarterback was on the roster like outperformed him at one point. But I mean, Steve Angeli is named the starter, so I mean, I guess they seen enough for him to let him play. But like I said, I mean, he doesn't really turn over the ball much, so I don't know if that'll be the case with Syracuse or not. But I don't know if we'll be seeing many interceptions this game based on what we've seen from him at Notre Dame.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen much from him at Notre Dame, which is,
True.
I think, the thing that I'm banking on a little bit more with Tennessee having an advantage at quarterback potentially, just because you've got a guy who he's not really played in too many big stages, but he has played in big stages in the past, specifically Clemson and North Carolina when Joey Aguilar was at Appalachian State. Steve Angeli, I mean, I would assume it's primarily a backup role, maybe a game or two when like Riley Leonard or Sam Hartman was injured at Notre Dame, but outside of that, it's not a whole lot of big time experience. The guy behind him, I believe, is Ricky Collins, who was an LSU transfer. So if he ends up coming out and they put Ricky Collins in, that could be something that happens as well. Speaking of backup quarterbacks, Josh Heupel has declined to name a backup quarterback for Joey Aguilar should things become problematic with Tennessee's passing game on Saturday. And again, this is not a huge surprise just because of who Josh Heupel is. I think we know the answer, but I don't know why he's doing this.
I mean, I guess he's just trying to keep every team on their heels, even though like we have a pretty good idea, I feel like, of how the offense is going to be. I mean, I imagine whenever the depth chart is released, we're going to see some of that typical stuff that we see every season where they're going to say Deshaun Bishop or Peyton Lewis or Star Thomas. Like, I
Yeah.
figure we're going to see a lot of that whenever that gets released.
I put my personal over under on the oars on the depth chart at 10.5. It could be more, it could be less than that. We shall see. Um, I think it was just about every position last year he used the oars against Chattanooga. So, don't know what that's all about. But I did ask everybody earlier today on the social medias what you are most anxious about in regard to this weekend. And I think all but one of you said, or maybe two of you said quarterback. In fact, I know it was two of you because McVall tweeted at me and said whether or not we can get out of there by 4 o'clock in Atlanta traffic, which is, of course, a very valid concern. The only person that didn't say the passing game said offensive line, which I do think that is something that you could be genuinely concerned about because we've mentioned it on the show in the past, but offensive line chemistry is something that should not be taken for granted. Um, and I think with a group that hasn't played a whole lot together, that is something that could potentially be an issue early in the season. I think maybe just through the first month, what you discover with teams that bulk up in the transfer portal is that really don't um, they don't really gel until they've played for a few games together. It's like what happened with Ole Miss last year. They dropped that game against Kentucky early in the season, but they got better as the year went on. Same thing with South Carolina last year as well. Too, you drop a couple games early on, but you really get things figured out as the season goes on. So I do think that's a very valid concern. Anything we have not addressed that could be a genuine point of concern for this team, Jordan? I think those are the two big ones. If I had to point them out,
I mean, I guess like the only other real concern, which I don't think it's a real concern, but like Tennessee's rushing attack. I mean, because you're not just going to replace a guy like Dylan Sampson, but I do think that Tennessee has three guys that are going to play decently well this year with, Peyton Lewis, Deshaun Bishop, and Star Thomas. I mean, we'll still have to wait and see how Star Thomas is, but I mean, we got a pretty good idea of who Peyton Lewis and Deshaun Bishop are as players. And I expect Deshaun Bishop to be the running back number one. I mean, of course, they're going to share reps throughout the game, but I imagine he's going to get the bulk of the carries. And but I just don't really see I don't really think it's too big of a concern. And
no,
defensively speaking for Tennessee, I mean, I think they're going to be just fine in that right too. So I mean, I think offensive line and quarterback are two valid reasons. But I will say, I mean, I think Tennessee's offensive lines just got to be better than last year, especially after reviewing some of the stats. Like when Joe Milton was there a couple of years back, Joe Milton got sacked 15 times. Last season, Nico got sacked 28 times. So I don't think Tennessee's going to be. I mean, I could be wrong, but hopefully I'm not. I just don't see Tennessee giving up close to 30 sacks this season,
do you
especially.
think do you think Nico's indecision is partially to blame for that?
100%, 100%. And I've honestly wondered about that too. Maybe Tennessee's offensive line isn't as bad as we thought. I mean, look at how easy Tennessee was able to run the ball last year. So maybe the offensive line isn't bad. Maybe it was just Nico just taking his sweet time trying to make up his mind of where he wanted to pass the ball. Maybe that's what led to a lot of sacks.
Yeah, it's not even just that. I mean, it tried taking too long to decide to run, all kinds of indecision that was causing issues for him last year. And I don't know why he made some of the decisions he did after a while. Like, man, what was it that interception he threw in that Alabama game? We've seen the low light clips going around now on the social media networks. By the way, they will be playing Utah at 10 p.m. on Fox Central Time. So for those of you who would like to tune in and watch Tennessee's former quarterback week one, you will have plenty of time to do that after Tennessee's game gets through. But of course, it won't be nearly as sweet for you unless Tennessee gets the win on Saturday. So with all that in mind, shall we go through some potential keys for this game for Tennessee getting a victory?
Yes.
All right, so I've come up with a list of 5, and Jordan, you feel free to add in any if I do not mention them. So my first key, you got to get off to a fast start, man. Last year, I think part of the frustration with this team was that it didn't really start fast in any big games. Come to think of it, like even the NC State game, you needed that pick six late in the first half to really bolster some kind of momentum. Of course, you had the 3 straight scoreless halves, first halves, I should say, against Arkansas, Florida, and Alabama. Started slow against Kentucky, didn't start super quick against Mississippi State. Um, they did get off to a decently quick start at Georgia, um, and I guess at Oklahoma. Vanderbilt, obviously, they got off to a terrible start in that game. So you've got to come out and assert your will quicker than you did last season. I think that just makes for a smoother ride, and I do think it also helps you feel a little bit better about your chances as the game goes on. Nothing wrong with being a second half team, but it's just frustrating to dig yourself into a deep hole uh, once the game begins. So that's my first key.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tennessee's missed that. I mean, like the 2022 team, I mean, they're pretty good at scoring quickly. And like you saw what Tennessee did to LSU that year. I mean, of course, yeah, against LSU. I mean, of course, like Hendon Hooker was the quarterback, things were different. Hopefully, we see a difference with that in Tennessee this year, which I think that we could with Joey Aguilar. I mean, he has a lot more experience than any quarterback that Tennessee's had probably since Hendon Hooker, if we're being honest. Like, I know that I've read online that he's had over 850 passing attempts. I mean, he's going to come in here with a lot of experience. And I think that's why he's ultimately the quarterback number one for this game. And I think Tennessee can score quickly in this game. Like, we'll see if they do. But I think that would be a big for boosting confidence in the team, especially if they score quickly on the first drive. I mean, that could set a precedent for the rest of the game. But as far as keys to victory, I'll say one thing that I want to see Tennessee improve on this season and hopefully in this game is they got to limit the penalties. They got
Yeah.
to. Like, I think they were 115th in penalties last season or something around there. Tennessee's going to have to get that in check if they want to win like later on the season. I mean, a Syracuse might not matter as much. I mean, we'll see with the game. But if you're going to play against like Georgia or something like that, and you're getting like 10 plus penalties a game, it's going to be hard to win a football game. So I think Tennessee needs to do a good job of limiting penalties and limiting turnovers for this game. And like just set a good precedence for the start of the season. Cause I think if you get a good week one, like dominant victory, then I think that can translate to some of the other games coming up on the schedule.
So you actually took my last one, which was hashtag control the controllables, to borrow some coach speak. Penalties, I think we've kind of accepted are just a part of it for this team under Josh Heupel. But at the same time, you got to understand this is not going to be a hostile road environment. Pre-snap penalties should not be a problem for this team. The holding penalties are drive killers. I wonder at what point we as a football world come together and say, let's limit holding to 5 yards because they are called so frequently and they're drive killers. They're absolute drive killers when you get them. But you have to make sure you don't have any dumb penalties. And then turnovers too. You're right about that. Quarterbacks are not necessarily as much at fault for turnovers in the Heupel era, but as much as we love him for what he did at Tennessee, um, Dylan Sampson had a fumble problem, and it contributed to those slow starts last season. So you got to get that fixed this year with Deshaun Bishop. Those early game turnovers were very costly for Tennessee, just in terms of getting started on the right foot last year. It felt like you had a fumble in just about every big game you played in the SEC, at least. So that is another one of my keys. All right, looking at some others here. Run to open up the pass. That's something that I want to see this team do because, and I think they will do it too. It's a lot like what you saw last year against NC State, and I think too with Virginia in 2023. You're going to see this team try and run the ball more at the beginning of the game, and it'll lead into my other key for this game is let Joey make some shorter passes, get him comfortable doing the simple things before you let him experiment later on in the game. I think that's something this team needs to do, and it'll be healthy for Joey too, just to get acclimated to this system. Don't make him feel like he has to do too much over the course of this game. Um, which, if you do start fast, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another good key as well. One thing that I don't want to see from Tennessee in regards to that is I don't want to see them like run, throw a deep incompletion because
Yep.
I'm about tired of seeing that. Or like last year, me and my brother talked about it a lot ad nauseum. How many times Tennessee threw a screen pass to the wide receiver last season just to get like a measly like 2 or 3 yards? I want to see that like limited as well. Like I mean, I feel like that could have been like, Josh Heupel not trusting in Nico as much. We'll see about it this season, but that was extremely frustrating last year to see the screen passes, the wide receiver wide open deep down the field and it's just overthrown. Like we need Tennessee needs a quarterback that's going to be able to complete deep passes and can actually throw in the middle of the field. So hopefully the Joey Aguilar can do a lot of that this season.
Yeah, Posty says he wants to see the new short yardage things that Halsley referenced. I uh, don't know what that is going to look like, but I am curious to see it because Jordan, I think you're right about the screens. I mean, no offense to my high school's football coach or offensive coordinator, but that's exactly what they did every single game. And it does get repetitive after a while. Teams are going to pick up on it and they're going to start to sniff it out. And you're only going to get 2 or 3 yards of play. Um, and I do want to see quarterbacks throwing over the middle of the field, which is something that feels like a lost art for this team for some reason. Joe Milton wasn't able to do it. We thought Nico would be able to do it after that Chattanooga game, but it turned out it was just Chattanooga after all. So they weren't really able to capitalize on any of that after the season or after we got into the thick of the season. It felt like, I mean, the last big play over the middle I can think of was that throw against Oklahoma that he had. So I would like to see more of that. And yes, they will use two tight ends. They're definitely going to get the tight ends incorporated just because of what's going on with the receivers. And you got two really good tight ends to do that with as well. With Miles Kitzelman, who kind of feels like the most dependable factor on this Tennessee offense in 2025, and then Ethan Davis, who did get involved last year. I believe he's a redshirt sophomore. So you're going to see him far more involved this season than last year, and I'm excited for that because you just kind of had Holden Stays there as a placeholder ahead of him, and two, I mean, you had three guys that you were excited about with tight end last season, so it's not as big of a loss for Holden Stays to get into the portal. I don't feel like.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned it before on I forget what podcast it was, but I mean, we could see Miles Kitzelman end up becoming the leading receiver on the team this year, which I think we found out the last time that happened was with Jason Witten, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Which I mean, obviously makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see Tennessee go out there and use two tight ends. I would like to see more at Ethan Davis because I think that he could be a really good player for Tennessee. But we already know what to expect with Miles Kitzelman, and I think that he's going to be one of the better tight ends in college football this year, as long as he stays healthy. I think that he's going to excel and be pretty good. Like I don't know if he'll be 1,000-yard receiver, but maybe he could be. And it would definitely be fun to see because we see how important tight ends have been in the NFL to a lot of these teams' successes, like in the past, like with the Patriots with Gronk or even the Chiefs with Travis Kelce as of late. It'd be nice to for Tennessee to have some good reliable tight ends because it's a really safe bet. Like if you're talking about completing passes in the middle of the field, that's where tight ends excel right there. And like Tennessee can definitely move the ball if they can get more passes into the center of the field. And like I said, less of those freaking screens. But yeah, I mean, I think Tennessee is going to do good at the tight end position this year.
Yeah, think they'll do well there. And then finally, one more for me on the defensive end, because I feel like we have to address the defense in some form or fashion, even though it's what we trust the most with this team. But keep attacking on the defensive end. This is an offensive line for Syracuse that, like Tennessee's offensive line, doesn't have a ton of experience together. And you can say the same about all the skill players, too. So take advantage of that inexperience and just keep attacking relentlessly. Um, get plenty of sacks for Mike Keith to drop those sack calls in his first game as the voice of the Vols. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. But you got to be relentless on that defensive end to start this season. Really assert your will against Syracuse.
Well, fortunately enough for Tennessee, I mean, we still don't know exactly what's going on in Jermod McCoy and everything, or Boo Carter, but Tennessee's got a talented enough defensive backfield this season where I feel like they could get away with a lot more blitzes this season. I mean, maybe they come out and try to blitz the crap out of Syracuse and maybe force a couple of turnovers because, I mean, I think Tennessee's defensive backs can hold their own. So I would love to see the defensive line go crazy in the game and inadvertently force some turnovers.
All right, so that's all we've got right now, or all I've got right now for keys to Tennessee and Syracuse. Anything else that I was missing, Jordan, that you got?
I mean, not really that I can think of because I think the running game is going to be just fine. I do get that passing could be a concern, but I think Joey Aguilar is going to look good in this game. But we'll have to wait and see. My biggest concern's probably the offensive line, but like we said, it could have been like Nico last season, and maybe the offensive line takes a big step up. But I mean, Tennessee fares well against Syracuse based on like everything they lost last season, and of course, like we haven't got to see what this Tennessee team can do yet as a unit. But I think that Tennessee will be a better team than the media wants to give them credit for.
Yeah, so it is all but 3 on the offense that they're replacing this year, it feels like, or it looks like at least. Daryl Gill at wide receiver is one that they're getting back. Syracuse is, and then Demetrius Weatherspoon is another name to look at on there. May only be just 2 because I'm looking at some of these other guys. They don't look like they were starters last season. Maybe producers, but like more of smaller contributors than they were in the previous season.
Yeah, and I think I think 2 of their receivers might be in the or like from last season might be in the NFL right now.
Yeah, one of
and
them
then
got released by the Lions today, I think,
uh,
which is another sore subject that we maybe can get into later with Hendon Hooker if we want to get into that at all. But yeah, he got cut today as well, so he will be looking for another place to play quarterback.
yes, very unfortunate Hendon Hooker situation, especially because all that he did for Tennessee. You know, like he was a big catalyst of bringing Tennessee out of mediocrity for a long time. You know, like it's just a shame that like the ACL injury may have caught up to him, and the fact that he was already behind the 8 ball, being one of the older quarterbacks to come out in the draft. I mean, he's 27 years old right now, so I mean, hopefully he gets another shot with the team, and like they can use him as a reliable backup, maybe like how Josh Dobbs has been able to find a resurgence. But I don't know. I worry that if Hendon Hooker doesn't go to the right team, I mean, if he gets cut again, who knows?
All right. So, Jordan, this will be the last time I talk to you before Tennessee and Syracuse play on Saturday. Do you have a score prediction for us?
I did not have one prepared.
Okay, we can get to it later. It's okay.
Okay.
You can marinate on this a little bit as we talk about other things. I guess I'll have to drop mine at some point. I could drop mine later on in the week in our little preview that we're doing, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so we are shutting down the X portion of this show. If you would like to check out what we've got on YouTube, we are on YouTube right now. You can find us. Let me share my screen right here. Just type in Tennessee Voice of College Football, and you'll be able to find us over there. So if you're watching on X right now, go over there if you want to watch the rest of our show tonight. We would really appreciate that. My apologies for the dead air. We are live. Next thing's a little more complicated. Trying to pull up a video right quick for you guys.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
All right, guys. Well, we still have some recruiting to discuss. And again, that is our YouTube channel right there. Please subscribe, like, share, and subscribe, please. And tell your friends about it. But I'll remove this now as we get into the world of Tennessee football recruiting, which we're beginning to wrap it up. We're beginning to wrap it up finally. This class is getting pretty full now. 23 guys in the class now. There was one guy who said this week that Tennessee could get potentially some more big names in the recruiting trail. Like I think it was Tom Loy of 247, but I just don't know who's left that's big because all the rest of the 5 stars committed earlier in the week. Like Savion Hyder obviously went to Michigan. TJ and I from the Michigan channel, and Garrison from the Gaddison goodness, his name is Garrison Gaddy. He does the Ohio State channel. We were all on there together. Gosh, I can't talk sometimes, but yes, we did a watch party for Savion Hyder. He committed to Michigan. I felt worse about Darius Gray committing to Tennessee than I did Savion Hyder committing to Tennessee, and sure enough, that's what happened. Tennessee did not get that one, and that was it for the 5 stars this week that were interested in Tennessee. Braylon Womack was the other 5-star that committed this week. He went to Auburn. I don't think Tennessee was really on his radar. But Tennessee did not get out of the week without getting a recruit. And it took me by surprise just a little bit when I saw that this guy committed to Tennessee. It was honestly more surprising that he didn't commit to Tennessee originally than the fact that he flipped. And I am, of course, talking about Kamari Blair, the 4-star offensive tackle from up in Clarksville. So he was committed to South Carolina. I believe he committed like July 16th, maybe, to South Carolina. He'd gone on a visit there, and he had committed just a couple days later. I think it was the Saturday, and then that he took the visit, and then he committed that Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week. But he announced his decision to flip, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday of last week. And again, more surprising that he went to South Carolina in the first place, just in comparison to the fact that he flipped back to Tennessee. But Jordan, your initial thoughts on Kamari Blair?
I will say that I am happy that Tennessee got another offensive lineman. I mean, he's got decent size. He's listed at 6'5.5", so maybe he gets up to 6 foot around the time he comes to Tennessee. He's a little bit of a lanky guy, I've noticed, though. But I mean, maybe that contributes a little bit to his play on the field because, I mean, he was quicker than I thought that he would be, and he could move side to side pretty well. But I will say I did see some cons with this game. He First of all, he seems like a very scrappy player, which I love from a lot of football players. But more specifically, I like that more on the defensive side of the ball. I'm pretty sure there's one play I saw where he hit a player like that was not really in the field of play, and I think the flag was thrown for him. I'm not sure if it
Yeah,
was.
I'm not sure either. I know what you're talking about.
I saw a flag fly pretty high in the air. But I mean, he's a mauler out there. I mean, he definitely pretty good at pancaking players and stuff. But another concern I had with him is he's almost 6'6", and he seems like he stands straight up a lot of the times when he blocks. I feel like he's really going to have to get in the chute and work on his pad level. I mean, if he's going to want to play at the SEC level, or he's going to get blown up by some of these SEC caliber defensive ends. So, I mean, that's pretty much my analysis that I've seen from watching some of his film.
Yeah, well, you took the words right out of my mouth there with the pad level. That was one thing I noticed when watching. And again, part of this may be just the fact that he's not going against guys like that in Clarksville that he'd be going against in the SEC. Just knowing a little bit about the high school football landscape here in Tennessee. You and I both went to high schools that played against Clarksville at one point or another when we were in high school. Teams from Clarksville, that is. And Clarksville is like Memphis light in terms of recruiting in Tennessee. What I mean by that is you look at the teams in Memphis. Usually there's a couple of D1 athletes on each team. And they're good enough to burn just about everybody on the field, run right past them easily. That isn't necessarily the case in Clarksville. You have a few guys who are really good on each team, but it's more scattered, it feels like. Northeast is one example. Jalen Reeves-Maben is a Northeast alum. Just a notable example there. But for the most part, the teams are not actually that good when it comes down to it. Like, I think, when I was in high school, I guess I was in middle school for the first year they played against the Clarksville teams, but Brentwood only lost once to a Clarksville team, and it was because they were running some stupid triple option offense. But they ended up losing kind of a stinker at home. They beat every other Clarksville team they played, though. As a matter of fact, I don't think Kirkwood High School was around when I was in high school, and that's where Kamari Blair goes. But I do get what you're saying about the pad level, though, Jordan. I think that is right away my biggest concern with Kamari Blair. But I do think that can get fixed if he is going against guys who are closer to his size than some of these guys that he's going against in Clarksville. So that's something to look forward to in his game. And I do like the fact that he was showing a little bit of everything in that highlight reel too. Like, he was showing some pass pro stuff, some downfield blocking. Looks like he's enthusiastic about blocking downfield. Some pancakes mixed in there too. So he can do a little bit of everything on that offensive line. But again, I do get what you're saying about the pad level.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it looks that way too because of how big the players that he's playing against are. I mean, because we know how it is with high school football in Tennessee. I mean, there might be a couple of big guys, but I mean, we're not talking about like South Florida teams out here where like everyone, like some of these schools could have like 6'3", like 250-pound defensive ends. Like, you don't see it as much in Tennessee. And I will say a lot of the people in the highlights that are watching, I mean, a lot of the defensive linemen look like they were like lucky to be like 6 foot tall. So, I mean,
they look like you and me out there going against Kamari Blair pretty much.
Yeah. Which is funny because we played line too. So, I mean, we fit the bill for that.
Two short dudes playing on the line.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I mean, I'm sure he can get it fixed at Tennessee and everything like that. But I will say, like, just based on his tape, he seems more of a raw prospect than some of the other guys Tennessee's got in this recruiting class.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a quick look at this class before we transition into one other thing here that we got to get in tonight. That's 4 offensive linemen officially in your 2026 recruiting class. You've got Kamari Blair, of course, the 5-star Gabriel Ascenda, another in-state commitment from Chattanooga, Baylor. Of course, you got the offensive lineman Edward Baker from the Baltimore area. And then, of course, you got J.B. Shabazz from North Carolina. The only two positions Tennessee has not got a recruit for in this class just yet, and that may change later on. There is a potential for some flips just before signing day, but right now you don't have a running back or a tight end. Now, there is a running back that they are interested in the 2027 class, and who knows, you can always portal there as well if they wanted to go that route. But Baylor has a running back. His name is Gabriel Georges. It's either David or Daniel. It's his first name. But they're really making this kid an in-state priority. So be on the lookout for his commitment within the next year. I have no idea when he'll actually do it. But again, just keep an eye on that. And then tight end, like I mentioned with Ethan Davis, he's a redshirt sophomore. So you may be fine for the time being, skipping a class with tight end. But again, you can always portal there too. Carson Snead was the commit there, but we kind of saw the writing on the wall 4 months before that actually happened. So we shall see if Tennessee does anything there, but that is the state of your recruiting class right now.
Yeah, and I'm not really too concerned about like not having a tight end or running back in the class. I mean, especially like with running back. I mean, of course, you would like to see Tennessee get a guy, but I mean, I feel like that's got to be one of the more easier positions to get out of the transfer portal if Tennessee needs to go that route. Because I feel like there's a lot of running backs in college football that may have been like highly touted recruits at some point, and they didn't get the playing time that they hoped at their school, or they didn't fit the offensive scheme that their coaches had running for them. So, I mean, I don't think it's doomsday for Tennessee by any means. And plus, they got a couple of good young guys on the roster currently. They'll probably still be there by next season as well.
Vols do need to flip keys. I think that would be huge for the program. There have been a couple of rumors that he would flip to Tennessee, but I guess we're just going to believe it when we see it.
He was wearing the orange pants at that, I think 7-on-7 or something like that.
Yeah, he was. So we'll see if Tennessee does that, but don't get your hopes up just yet. The Adidas deal may mean nothing, but it may mean everything. So we'll monitor it as we go into football season. All right, one more thing before we get out of here, and this is pretty significant news for the future of the SEC, and that is the fact that the SEC is bulking up to a 9-game conference schedule, which it was previously at 8. I believe only the ACC remains at 8 after this season. Jordan, your thoughts on a 9-game conference schedule coming to the SEC?
Well, now that I understand it a little bit more, because I think we talked about it, like the possibility of this like several months ago, and I wasn't really aware of like the details of like what 9 games would entail. But I'm excited that, you know, some of these rivalries are going to get preserved because you don't want to be in a situation where like Tennessee can't play against Alabama every year. I mean, it's a historical rivalry, and like, just imagine if Texas and Oklahoma couldn't be able to play every year, like, or Alabama and Auburn. Like, it'd be such a disservice to college football. So I'm glad that they're switching to the 9-game schedule as opposed to the 8-game. But I am a little disappointed that Tennessee won't get to play all of their rivals every single year.
Well, you're going to get to play them every other year, so I don't know how terribly concerned you should be about that. And you got the Big Ten homers coming out saying, "Oh, they're bending the knee to the Big Ten. They're moving to a 9-game conference schedule because we made them do it." No, that's not at all what this is. You got to preserve tradition in a sport that is slowly losing that level of tradition, unfortunately. So I appreciate the SEC for doing this. It felt like it was something that had to be done eventually. That, and then just plus the fact that you've got rising ticket prices as well, with the anticipation of revenue sharing. Like, no offense to the people who root for FCS and Group of 5 programs, it's just not as fun to go to roughly half your home games and see those teams in your stadium as opposed to a big SEC football game. And I'm sure that's something we'll talk about next week a little bit with the ETSU game on the horizon. So, but I think the big question for everybody in the league is who will your 3 permanent opponents be? Because the other 6 teams will be rotating each season. And I feel like there should not be an argument at all for who Tennessee's team should be. So the league is using geography, rivalries, and balance to determine who the teams are. Balance is a very subjective term. Let me just say that. Because what is a difficult slate for Mississippi State of 3 opponents each year may not be a difficult slate of 3 opponents for Florida each year. They're 2 very different perspectives of what is difficult in the SEC. So to me, and I really don't think there should be any argument against it, Tennessee's 3 annual opponents should be Alabama, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. And I've seen all kinds of people argue that Tennessee should be their 3rd team, like Florida fans, Georgia fans, South Carolina fans, all saying that. There's a couple reasons why that should not be the case. And before, you get all these rival fan bases complaining about the fact that Tennessee is playing a weak group of permanent opponents with Kentucky and Vanderbilt in there. Let's be real about something. It's going to be tough for everybody every year with the way this schedule is structured. Like, you're going to have the 6 rotators. It's not like you're going to have many free passes, so to speak, in any of these matchups. That's number 1. Number 2, we got to think about tradition here, because South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida did not mean nearly as much to Tennessee before the year 1992 as they do today. You talk to any Tennessee fan over the age of 45, and they'll tell you Alabama is by far the team Tennessee hates most. We don't like either or any of those other 3 teams, but our hatred for Alabama far outweighs our hatred for those other 3 teams, because they've been playing for over 100 years, basically. So that's how long Tennessee and Alabama have been playing. Tennessee's been playing Kentucky and Vanderbilt for 125 years, basically, nonstop. And when you factor in geography and rivalries, those are the 2 programs that are closest to Tennessee. And the only real rival for both of those teams in the SEC, again, is Tennessee. So I really don't feel like there should be a debate as to who the 3 are for Tennessee. I know other fan bases can complain about the fact that, you're not playing Alabama, Georgia, and Florida every year. Guess what? Tennessee is the only team to have played all 3 of those teams each year since 1992. And guess what? Those teams have won 11 of the 33 national championships in those years. And many of those seasons, they were runners-up in some of those national championship games. So now you understand why Tennessee has been down for a lot of these years, is because they've had to go through all of these teams, when they've not been at their best. So you can complain about balance all you want, but it's the truth. You've seen Tennessee go through more hardships than anybody else just in the last 15 years. As a result of this, like major programs to go through the hardships, I should say, because, Vanderbilt doesn't do that. Sorry if it sounds like I'm ranting a little bit, but, you've got some other programs in the SEC that want to claim Tennessee as a 3rd. It's just not going to happen, I don't feel like.
Yeah, no, Tennessee had the misfortune of having to play against Alabama, Georgia, and Florida every single year. And we've talked several times about it doesn't matter how much better of a team Tennessee has on paper than Florida. Like, they're going to play Tennessee close all the time. Georgia, if Tennessee didn't have to play Georgia in 2022, who knows, because the beatdown of South Carolina, like, maybe we could jump into conspiracy theories on another time in a podcast. But I mean, maybe the beating from South Carolina would have still kept Tennessee out of the playoffs, but maybe not. I mean, if Tennessee didn't have to play Georgia that season, Tennessee may have went to the playoffs that year. And I agree with you that I think that the most likely scenario for Tennessee's rivals is probably going to be Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. I mean, because there's the most history there. They've been playing each other since like the 1890s, like since Tennessee became a football program. Like back when there were still Cowboys and Outlaws running around, Tennessee was playing against Vanderbilt. But I mean, I would say like I'm gonna miss seeing Florida on the schedule every single year if that ends up being the case, because I mean I did a couple little scenarios here, and for my best scenario for entertainment purposes, I put that Alabama, Florida, and Vanderbilt would be the three rivals. Because like, you know, I mean, Alabama, like that's the one non-negotiable. I think every Tennessee fan wants to see Tennessee play against Alabama each and every year. Vanderbilt, I feel like, is also like another non-negotiable because it's an in-state rival. There's been so much history between the two schools, but I know Tennessee and Florida is more of a newer rivalry, but man, do I hate the Gators, and it would feel really nice to like crush their dreams some season. So I mean, I would hope that Florida be on there. More than likely, that's not going to be the case. And then like the most likely scenario I already mentioned, it was the one that Tucker presented. But the worst scenario, which I absolutely do not want to see, because you know some people consider Georgia Tennessee's rival, which I do not. I mean, I know Georgia fans might consider Tennessee to be their rival, but I don't think most Tennessee fans do. I mean, my doomsday scenario is Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky. That would be the one that I don't want to see at all, because there's not enough history there between Tennessee and Georgia, and then Kentucky too. I mean, I would rather have Vanderbilt in place of them, considering that they're in-state rivals. I think it just makes more sense.
Yeah, well, see, here's the problem is if you leave either Kentucky or Vanderbilt out of the equation, you leave them hanging. They don't have a real rival. Now, granted, there's going to be some oddballs out there regardless. Like, who does Vandy play other than Tennessee? You figure Kentucky.
South Carolina, maybe?
Yeah, well, maybe South Carolina. I figured either Ole Miss, just because they have played each other a lot traditionally, or Missouri, because, you know, Missouri is like the conference oddball. Like, Mizzou and Oklahoma are basically the only two teams Oklahoma is the only team Mizzou goes with, is what I'm trying to say. And even then, they're not that big of rivals traditionally, despite the fact that they've played in conference together on and off over their program's existences. And then as for Georgia, I think their three are fairly simple. I think it's Florida, Auburn, South Carolina, just geographically. Obviously, we know about the Deep South's oldest rivalry, the cocktail party. And South Carolina, I feel like of everybody in the SEC, they would hate Georgia the most. And I'm seeing, well, I did see that our South Carolina host Lucas Hill wanted Tennessee as a permanent opponent. I don't know. I don't think that would end up happening, just because of what I've already mentioned with Tennessee having those other two, those in-state ones in particular. Maybe you see Kentucky grouped with South Carolina. That's one I've thought about a little bit, because I think you look at the teams that Kentucky is closest to geographically. It's kind of difficult past Vanderbilt and Tennessee, just as they are one of the further north teams in the league. But South Carolina, I feel like, would be one of the closer ones. And traditionally, I mean, it doesn't date back super far, but they've at least played each other for a long period of time. Florida's one I'm having a little bit of difficulty with as well, because you would assume Georgia would be one that they go against every year. You could potentially pair them with South Carolina and Auburn just for geographical reasons. I think they're both about 5 hours away from Gainesville. And then another one that's popped into my head every now and again is Florida and LSU getting paired every year, because you know, that's a very tight rivalry just in terms of the overall record. In fact, I think it's tied at 34-34 now. So that's what I'm thinking just with that. for Florida potentially. Posty wants to know who would get the toughest draw in the league. I think there is a position for Arkansas to get a really tough draw, just because you've got Texas A&M, Texas, and then LSU potentially in there. I don't want to see the Battle of the Boot go away. I think that's turned into a very fun rivalry. Even when Arkansas is bad, that's still a good game. You got the Southwest Classic. Arkansas really hates Texas too. And I get it, man. Mizzou is causing so much problems here because you've got they are a true oddball in this conference. They do not fit at all with the rest of the SEC. And I get it. The Battle Line Trophy is sick. The game itself is not. It's generally Mizzou is just okay and Arkansas is terrible, and Mizzou beats up a lot of those instances. Arkansas has only beat Mizzou twice because their program has just been in such a terrible spot recently. Now, as for Alabama, obviously you're going to see Tennessee and Auburn. It's a debate as to who the third is going to be, because I think if we're going based on tradition and how competitive the series is, I would say LSU. But if you're going on geography, Starkville is only an hour and a half away. So it may actually balance out a little bit if you were to put Mississippi State in there. Plus Mississippi State too, like outside of Ole Miss and maybe LSU, who do you give them?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point too. I mean, I would argue like Georgia could have one of the toughest draws. I mean, maybe not right now, like with the current standings of the teams, but I mean, like Auburn and like Florida historically are two phenomenal programs, like some of the best in the SEC. I mean, that could become a problem for Georgia later on. I mean, if they aren't able to live up to the heights that they have been under Kirby Smart, I mean, who's to say like 5 years from now or something like that Florida and Auburn aren't powerhouses? So, I mean, I think Georgia could be in trouble there too.
Yeah, it's possible. I would say those are programs that are somewhere near the top half of the SEC. And then South Carolina's doomed to fall off every now and again. It just happens with them. So that's a possibility. And then you look at on the further west side of the conference too, like Texas could potentially have a tough draw, because in reality, I think it would be best if they got paired with A&M, Oklahoma, and Arkansas just for geographical reasons. And if we're taking tradition into account, you got the old Southwest Conference days with each of those programs. So I think you'd have to pair them up. And Arkansas at some point should get better. I feel like we say this most seasons, but like they're going to come out of a slump eventually and be at least consistent at some point. The A&M rivalry is a little overhyped, but it is a rivalry game nonetheless. And Red River is honestly a terrific game most years, because you genuinely don't know who's going to win that game, which I think is what you want to see in rivalries. So I think Texas could be dealt a tough hand. LSU is another one that could be dealt a very tough hand, because I don't see a way in which they get an easier one. I'm just trying to think, because Alabama is obviously a possibility.
Maybe
like
Florida.
Yeah, that's another one that's possible, but I wouldn't say they'd have both Alabama and Florida on there. To me, I feel like you have to include Ole Miss and Arkansas in there for LSU, just because the Magnolia Bowl has been going on for an eternity, and then Arkansas has, of course, evolved into a fun game. I would be in favor of them getting rid of the series with A&M every year. I know they've had some better competition lately, which I think helps, but it's not quite as bad as the rivalry manufacturing the SEC has tried to do with Arkansas and Missouri, but I still don't like that game being the last week of the season as opposed to LSU and Arkansas. Although the 74-72 game was fun in 2018, I will admit.
Yeah, I mean, I figure there's at least going to be one or two teams that get absolutely screwed in this situation. Like, I don't remember who posted or whatever, but I saw a graphic on Instagram that about made me throw up. Like, they had Oklahoma as one of Florida's permanent rivals. And I'm like, where in the world did that come from? And of course, the comment section was like blowing up. They're like, "Oh yeah, like the greatest rivalry in all of sports, Florida and Oklahoma." But I mean, like, shoot, I hope we don't see anything like that for any of the teams, man. I mean, like, I'm a big traditionalist guy. Like, I love the history of the SEC. I don't want to see a man-made rivalry between like teams like Oklahoma and Florida. I think that would be bad for the SEC. But yeah, I mean, I figure like at least one or two of these teams are probably going to get screwed this year. But hopefully it's none of the major ones. Like, hopefully Tennessee doesn't get screwed or like Alabama or anything like that, because I feel like even if we aren't fans of these programs, we still appreciate their rivalry games and getting to watch some good football.
Yeah, well, at the same time, I don't think anybody is getting absolutely screwed other than the fact that they could be losing rivalry games. Because, again, you're going to have these teams rotating each year, so it's not as if you're never going to see them again. Like what we thought was going to happen when these two, Texas and Oklahoma, joined the SEC. And, of course, you ended up losing the divisions and then having to say goodbye to some teams that you played every year. And I don't think that's necessarily problematic. You shouldn't be at a point where you should be able to peacefully coexist with another SEC fan base. That should not happen. And yet it was allowed to because certain teams wouldn't play each other for 5 to 7 years. Like, for example, every team in the SEC West except for Alabama. That was the case. Don't really include COVID in that, but like, Ole Miss, I want to say Mississippi State, Texas A&M, maybe Auburn. No, Auburn was only 5 years, but you get the picture. 5, 6, 7 years between games between SEC schools is not a good look. And I think this was ultimately the right call by the league for that very reason, because I want to see more of these matchups between teams across the conference as opposed to making it regionally specific. And I think that was part of the fun with getting road divisions, but at the same time, you had to come up with something here, whether it be the 1-7 model or the 3 or 6. And I think the SEC did the right thing.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, it's still taken me some time to get used to there not being an East and West division in the SEC. But I will say it'll be cool, like in the future, to see Tennessee play against like more teams like Auburn, which I feel like I've only seen like a handful of times since I've been watching Tennessee play football, which I heard that used to be a pretty big game back in the day.
Yeah, it's another one of those games where like people over the age of 45 would tell you Tennessee fans over the age of 45 know all about it because those teams didn't like each other. They played some legendary games back in the day. But again, it's just slowly kind of died off because of the conference expansion, starting with the 12 teams in 1992. And of course, it progressed into the last few decades. So, yeah, good to see all that stuff coming back.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan. Now it's time. Do we have a score prediction for this weekend?
Okay. So I figure Tennessee probably gets at least 2 rushing touchdowns. I would imagine maybe 2 passing. So that would be what, like 28 points right there. I think Tennessee's good for a field goal, maybe 31-14.
Okay.
31-14.
All right. So what's our over-under looking at? I do need to look at that before we go.
Last time I checked, I think it was 12.5. It may have changed now.
Oh, no, I was not talking about the spread. I was talking about the over-under.
Oh, okay.
I'm pulling it up 50. Right now. Yeah, it is at 50. I'm conflicted. I feel like the under could hit here. You basically already picked the under. Didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, 31. Yeah. It would have been the under in that scenario. Yeah.
I'm going to go even less than that. I think I'm going to go 27-10 Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins this game by double figures, but I do think the defense is going to step up big. That's why we're going to remember this game ultimately.
Yeah, I will say I wouldn't be shocked though if Tennessee ended up like firing all cylinders for the game. I mean, who's to say that Joey Aguilar doesn't
Yeah.
get hot early and then Syracuse can never come back into the game? I mean, I think there's a lot of outcomes that could take place. Just ultimately, I think Tennessee gets the victory, and I think they win probably around what Vegas has them at, about 2 scores.
Yeah. Well, I thought 38-24 was what was going to happen at NC State last year, and sure enough, 51-10 is what ended up happening instead with Tennessee not even playing that good of a game, honestly, which is kind of wild to say, but that's my score prediction for this week. Anything else that we missed for this week, Jordan?
I mean, like we briefly touched on like Hendon Hooker getting released. The only other thing that I've really seen notable in Tennessee news is that the NIL evaluations came out for Nico Imalieva and Joey Aguilar, and they're both sitting around $1.2 million, which I thought was pretty funny to see, because like the initial reports is that Nico was like chasing the money. Then more things came out saying that he just needed the right players to play with, and that his dad like spoke to the team and everything like that. I just find it pretty interesting that him and Joey Aguilar are making about the same money, but they're not, because Nico's got to pay the California taxes that come along with it.
Yeah, that's what's going to end up happening when you make that kind of money, because again, the California taxes are like crazy out there, and it would make sense with Joey Aguilar getting that kind of money here too, just being a first-year guy in the system, kind of on loan. But good for him for getting that money.
Yeah. And I don't know if I've told you this before, but I actually lived in California briefly in 2024. And I will say everything there is expensive. Me and my brother, we were going grocery shopping one time, and he was wanting to cook some food. So he was looking at the olive oil section. A thing of olive oil, maybe about like this big or something like that. $36. $36 for olive oil. So welcome to California, Nico.
That's why they're all coming here. But Nico didn't learn his lesson.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight on The Voice of College Football. We appreciate you guys for watching us tonight. Again, tell all of your friends and even rival fans about us if you would like to. Please like, share, and subscribe to Tennessee at The Voice of College Football. Again, we are live every Monday night at 8 Eastern Time. We are lucky to have you all watching us. Again, check out our merch store. We teased it at the beginning of the show. Well, we really promoted it at the beginning of the show, but we have all that stuff available for you to purchase now. And again, keep your eyes out for a special preview later this week with Josh Holder of Locked on Syracuse. That will be rolling out later on in the week. For Jordan Binkley, I am Tucker Harlan. We will talk to you guys again next week.